By the way, you know they have a celebration of them on September the 5th. Trump celebrating the J6 people. I thought my boss, President Clinton, made an undeniable point of Democratic policy. Since the end of the Cold War, there have been 51 million jobs created in the United States. 50 million were created under Democratic presidents and 1 million under Republican presidents.
You know, that's
50 to 1.
You've got to be able to tie. If you're going to make claims, that's a first of all, I love you, I love Clinton. That's a thing to say.
Okay.
Because as we both know, am I right?
Yeah.
As we both know, jobs created, it has a lot to do with what the last guy did. Clinton got rid of Glass-Steagall. Did that have anything to do with the collapse in 2008 of the economy? I think it did. So maybe some of the jobs that were lost.
I'm sorry.
It's just a bullshit.
Bill Maher just roasted another woke guest, and it was brutal. The guest strolled into the studio assuming he and Maher were ideological allies. Moments later, he realized he had walked into a rhetorical ambush. Maher was locked and loaded. What followed was a masterclass in dismantling smug, self-righteous talking points. Every virtue-signaling buzzword went up in smoke as Maher calmly tore through the nonsense with surgical precision. This wasn't a debate, it was a reckoning. A reminder that logic still has a place in a space overrun by hysteria. Buckle up, this one burns hotter than the studio lights.
Aligned on is that the Democrats do better when they're center left and not far left.
Certainly.
It's better policy and it wins elections.
Right.
How do you think they did their convention with convincing the country that they are now back to the center left as opposed to the far left?
Well, first of all, you and I agreed, but that was one tough extraction, getting Biden out of the race.
Yes, it was.
Anyway, we brought in the head of oral surgery at UCLA, Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, I like a couple of hygienists like hacking away at it. Dr. Nancy came in and did it.
Maher opened with a rare moment of clarity, reminding his audience that the left is strongest when it stays tethered to common sense, not when it veers off into the ideological abyss of far-left extremism. He laid it out plainly: center-left politics means staying grounded in reality. Issues like abortion rights, LGBTQ equality, and gender identity are worth discussing, but not when hijacked by radicals pushing pronoun policing or biological men in women's sports. When activism replaces logic, progress descends into chaos. Maher drew a clear line, and to his credit, he did it without flinching.
And the Democrats, they weren't looking for ethnic cleansing. They weren't looking for a war. They weren't looking for a new entitlement. The country wanted something different than Trump and Biden, and we gave it to them. And I'm not surprised the country's responding favorably. I really not.
Yeah, I thought that, for one thing, they sounded like America, which, has been a problem with the left in recent years. They didn't sound like they liked America too much. And this convention, I heard a lot of it. You're lucky to be an American. You're privileged. Right. It's the greatest country in the world. Like, thank you. Did you hear that, Congressman? Did you feel like that was sincere?
Maher didn't just challenge ideology, he went after the political failures that have exposed the left's decline. Starting with Kamala Harris, he reminded viewers how, despite corporate media hype, celebrity endorsements, and endless donor money, she failed to connect with real voters. She had every advantage and still fell flat. The spin said it was a close race. The reality? She crashed and burned in key swing states. The narrative of her historic campaign was pure delusion. Maher shredded it with cold, clinical precision.
I will never criticize Democrats for being good at politics. What I criticize Democrats for is being bad at policy and governing. They put on a great show. They got those celebrities in there. They dusted off those American flags that they had previously held in the attic or burned occasionally. And then they brought them out for that freedom wave.
Very few Democrats burned
the Democrat activists burned down cities. We, as members of Congress, just a few weeks ago, we had to go put American flags back up over Union Station, Washington.
Then came Dan Crenshaw, and his point hit like a sledgehammer. He called out the left's selective patriotism, how certain activists trade the American flag for trendy social causes when it's politically convenient. Crenshaw argued real patriotism doesn't vanish when it's not fashionable. Swapping out the stars and stripes for a pride flag isn't progress, it's performative pandering. Maher agreed, adding that true love for country isn't seasonal, it's consistent, and it doesn't bend to the latest outrage trend.
Hope and joy, and I get it, like that's great. Starry-eyed views of optimism of the future, but on policy, not so great. And in the end, this is going to be about policy. They were very light on that. Why? Because they don't want to contend with the fact that they own the last 4 years of policy. We do have a very unique opportunity here where we have two candidates where you can look at 4 years and 4 years. You know exactly what they're going to do, and you know exactly what the outcomes are. And on every metric, Donald Trump wins on this. And so that's what we're going to keep pushing this election toward, is what are the metrics that will actually make your life better? Donald Trump wins on this, on the policy and the outcomes.
Maher zeroed in on the left's economic messaging and exposed it as little more than recycled slogans. Crenshaw pointed out that even after losing the election, Democrats still couldn't articulate a clear vision for America. No economic roadmap. No border policy. No plan for working families. Just hashtags and hollow speeches. Kamala Harris had media muscle and Hollywood behind her, but none of it could hide the lack of authenticity. Voters saw through it. They rejected the hype and demanded results. And Democrats simply couldn't deliver.
On September the 5th, Trump celebrating the J6 people. I thought my boss, President Clinton, made an undeniable point of Democratic policy. Since the end of the Cold War, there have been 51 million jobs created in the United States. 50 million were created under Democratic presidents and 1 million under Republican presidents.
You know, that's
50 to 1.
We're trying to be able to tie. If you're going to make claims like that,
first of all, I love you, I love Clinton. That's a thing to say.
Okay.
Because as we both know, well, am I right?
Yeah.
As we both know, jobs created, it has a lot to do with what the last guy did. Clinton got rid of Glass-Steagall. Did that have anything to do with the collapse in 2008 of the economy? I think it did. So maybe some of the jobs that were lost.
I'm sorry.
Maher dug deeper into the myth of job creation. The left brags about big job numbers, but Maher pointed out that it's not about quantity. It's about quality. He reminded viewers that under Clinton, job stats looked good, but most were low-wage, part-time gigs with no real future. Behind the headlines was instability. Maher refused to let Democrats hide behind numbers that don't tell the full story. Without upward mobility and long-term sustainability, the economy isn't working, it's just spinning in place.
Policy to an outcome. I can tie policies from Donald Trump to outcomes. So you cut taxes, you cut regulations. What does that do? It makes it easier to do business and hire people. So you're going to have job growth. You had 8% wage increase after inflation under Donald Trump before the pandemic. Actually, 16% if you're talking about the lowest quintile of earners. Under Biden, it's been 0. So on every metric, he wins, and I can go down the list.
I guess that crime is down 30%. The stock market is up. The metrics that y'all choose are just BS metrics.
No, I choose
Next, Maher tackled the myth of progress. He argued that a healthy economy isn't defined by slogans or trends, it's defined by real indicators: stable inflation, smart tax policy, and fewer regulations choking small businesses. That's why Trump resonated with middle America. He talked about real issues: cost of living, paycheck power, and economic survival. Meanwhile, Harris and her allies focused on cultural fights instead of fixing real problems. Maher made it clear Americans vote with their wallets, not with hashtags.
Done a better job at job creation, but it's not 50 to 1. So don't lie to me. You know what? I'm an ally till you lie.
Please fact check. Either Bill's right or I'm right.
Well, but the numbers don't necessarily mean.
Okay. But it's 50 to 1.
You understand what my.
We had the lowest unemployment in 50 years under Trump. And again, you have to associate an outcome with policies. And you can't tell me what Biden policy resulted in better jobs. If we're increasing our jobs.
Also, there was a pandemic that had a lot to do with it.
There's a massive.
There's a lot of factors that go into it.
James Carville thought he had a MIC drop moment, boasting that Democrats created 50 million jobs compared to Trump's 1 million. But Maher wasn't buying it. Instead of nodding along, he challenged the talking point head-on. Context matters, Maher said. Post-pandemic rebounds inflate the numbers. That's not real leadership, it's statistical sleight of hand. He reminded viewers that correlation isn't causation, and cherry-picked data isn't proof of success. Carville looked stunned as Maher broke it down in real time. The truth doesn't always serve the party line, and Maher proved it.
no education standards anymore. They will let you out of a public high school and give you a diploma, and you don't have to actually know anything, which used to be the mission of schools, knowing things. I know it's super important to stop the grooming of our kids, or I don't know, to start it. And certainly critical race theory must be stricken from the curriculum, or who knows, maybe included in all of it. But, while we're having those fights, could someone please notice that the kids don't actually...
Maher then pivoted to what he called America's biggest crisis, education. While politicians argue over pronouns and culture wars, schools are collapsing. Kids are graduating without basic reading, writing, or critical thinking skills because ideology has replaced merit. Programs like DEI and critical race theory have turned classrooms into activist hubs where participation trumps performance. Maher lamented the death of meritocracy, the very backbone of American success. What's left is a generation unprepared for reality. This wasn't just critique. It was a warning.
Country on weekends doing stand-up now. I see the political ads that are running on the local TV markets, and I think, how can this possibly work on people? And then I remember, oh yes, they think Queen Elizabeth is from Egypt. When again, plainly, it's Brazil.
In closing, Maher delivered his strongest message yet. He argued that the damage done by the left's obsession with wokeness, especially in schools, may take decades to undo. But there's hope. New leaders are emerging who want to restore merit, truth, and discipline. Maher applauded those fighting to hold institutions accountable and cut through the ideological fog. Even lifelong liberals, he noted, are waking up to the extremism infecting their side. Progress isn't found in virtue signaling or culture wars, it's found in results, reason, and shared values. The radical experiment has failed. And it's time to move forward.